So up right now, I've done my elevations. Now I want to start drawing some sections, and so I'm going to have to create a new design layer. So I can right click on my navigation palette and select new, and I want to call this sections, hit OK. Now what I can do, I'm going to be pulling down the same guidelines like I did with my elevations. So I have to determine where I'm going to cut my section line through. So a lot of times, depending on the design of our building, we're gonna most likely want to do at least two sections, so one longitudinal and one cross section. If I go into my dims and notes tool set menu, I can scroll down and I can see there's a section elevation marker tool. I can select that. There's different ways of using it, but I'm just going to use it in vertex mode. I'm going to do just a straight line across, and I can double click, and there's I can choose my marker size, I can link to viewport, I can set marker style, so you can see there's different styles for those markers. I can hit OK and just leave it as it is. I can also flip, so that's going to, I'll leave it the way it is, but all these we can also change in our object info palette after. So this is the section line, or my cutting line, and this, I'm going to give it a fill so I can see it a bit better, is the direction that I'm looking in. And this is where that flip comes into play, because I can turn it and look in the opposite direction. Does everybody understand kind of what a section is and why we do them? So we want to see the structure within the building along this line. So I've drawn this line, and I'm going to use my line tool, and I'm going to snap down from the, I could, right now I'm doing it from the outside of the structure. I could do inside. I'm just going to remember that I'm doing outside. I'm going to go in and snap off this wall as well. So just like, and actually what I can do, I'll bring all these lines down, but I have already done part of the work as well. Now, I'm actually going to go back to my elevations layer, and I'm going to take these, I'm going to take in my boxed in elevations, and I'm going to duplicate, and then I'm going to send it from my layer, my elevations layer, to my sections layer, and go back to my sections. So I've already outlined, in my elevations, I've already outlined a lot of the structure. And now in my section, I want to give these all no fill. I can start going into detail with this structure. So I want to get rid of my windows. I'm not going to see my front elevation windows. I am looking, I'm going to flip this back the other way. I am looking towards the rear of my building, so I might be able to see, for instance, these kitchen windows that are supposed to be here, and I won't see the door because this is blocking, but in your plan it might not be. So I do want to keep my outside boxes of my information. I'm not going to see this line. So, and now there's different ways of drawing our sections. I could do just a schematic section, in which case I'd want to use just black to kind of like our design walls to draw in the information here. So we've been working on walls with components, and in this case I do have an exterior 2x6 wood siding wall with rain screen. So I could use that one, and I'm going to hit OK. And this is my exterior of my building. I know it's on the outside, and I can just draw using the wall tool my wall in. I like to use my wall tool to create the walls in my section, because then I can install walls just like I would. This is actually a vertical representation of the wall, but the siding's still going to be on the outside. It's still going to have all those components. So this is my window, my head height. I'm going to place a window in here, and I'm going to drag it up to my head height so I can see, and I can delete this line now and delete this line. And there's another line still there. Oh, that was the box. Never mind. That one. So I can see this is how I want my window to insert into my door. Now, thankfully, this wall style already has batt insulation. It has that image fill. But also, if we look in this little steel beam, I can see that there's a batt insulation tool as well. So I can go in, and right now I'll do it above my ceiling. So it's just going to ask for offset, thickness and offset, and right now I'll just leave it as that. And I can see like this is going to represent my batt insulation in my roof, or in my ceiling, attic. So what I can do is I can change the thickness if I wanted to. So say if we need R40, I can make it thicker. I'm still going to, this is the top of my wall height. And remember, we used that double line polygon tool to kind of accommodate for the structure of our roofing system. So in this case, I don't know if I did 3.5 or 4. Actually, I'll just draw it from here for now. So I'm just gonna, I can now go in and actually kind of closely represent what the trusses might actually look like. I'm just using my double line polygon tool, and I could kind of go in and, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. And what I can do is even select the multiple objects and right click and add surface. And then this little piece I don't actually want. So I could use my clip tool and the polygon mode and clip this little piece off. So there I've just kind of done a quick truss. Also, with my insulation, it's going to need to, I might want to show it close to the edge of my wall, as I've done so here, but I might want to further detail how this actually angles down. So what I can do is, for this length, I want this to be, let's say, 10 15 feet. I'll just do it extra long for now. What I could do too, hello, you did it. Come on in. So if I wanted to get really detail orientated, I could take this bat insulation and I've made it the length that I wanted to. It's a bit long, but that's okay. And what I can do is I can modify this and I can convert it to polygon. Oops. Actually modify, convert to lines or polylines. And then once it's converted, nope. So now I converted it to a group. That's what we want to do. Convert it to group. I can double click on that polyline now. And it should take me in. It's okay, it's not, but ungroup. Okay. It's not wanting to work with me right now, so we'll skip this. I'll get back to it. Okay, so that's one type of linear material we can use, our bat insulation tool. There is also a linear material tool and a repetitive unit tool. I can, for instance, select this linear material tool. I can go up into the linear tool, material tool preferences. I can specify what kind of material I'm doing. So under the type, I can do, you can see there's multiple different types I can do. So for instance, I can do a generic board, gypsum board, plaster stucco, plywood, OSB, detail, corrugated decking. So even for now, if I wanted to do my subfloor, I could specify it as a thickness of say 3/4 of an inch. And draw that along my floor. I can see that this is the detail that it goes into, and this is how we want to show our or how we can show the detail of our plywood or our subfloor. I can also, after I've created it in the object info palette, I can actually specify if I want something different. So even just the plywood OSB just doesn't have those diagonals on them. I can also choose my detail of cut wood. So I can select that. Double clicking on it brings into my create object. So I can create rough, blocking, or finish. I will show you, I'll do rough for now. I can do custom, or I can specify specific dimensions. So say if I want it to be a 2-inch by like 12-inch. So I can show size. I don't want to show size. I can do size only, size in unit. You can play with all of those. I'll just leave it as that. Oh, it didn't take that. Okay. So I can also, I'm going to turn off show size. There's my 2x2. I can change it after and go, I want this to be a 2x6, for instance. And I can then take that framing member and put it in my wall. So I can place it as a sill if I wanted to. I want to make sure I give it a fill so then it covers the bat insulation below. I can also take that member and click option drag and put it as a bottom plate, and I can click option drag it as a header. I can take it and also place it as my double top plates. So I want to show as much detail as I can. So I'm also going to be doing my floor system. I'm also going to, here I drew down, I'm cutting through an interior wall. So what I'm going to do is I can again use my wall tool, and this time I want to do an interior wall, and I'm going to draw it and make sure it's aligned, and I can do my wall that way. So I'm going to draw, for instance, your plan is going to have a wall here with a door opening. You will see that if you're facing this direction, you will see it. You won't be cutting through it, but it will still be visible, and you'll snap down those reference lines to then draw your door in elevation basically on your section.